Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the indyquebec.com interview series. Today, I have a very special guest for you. He has been all over the Quebec indie scene for the past 2 decades, been wreaking havoc all over every federation that he's appeared at. The man is a legend, and he is already a Hall of Famer in NCW, and his career has pursued on. Pandemic times have been hard, and this man has not only done great things in wrestling, but one great thing that I would like to talk to him today is about another thing, CWC, which is a great group that we will talk about in not too long. Here's my guest, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Cain.
Yeah, glad I could meet. Thanks for the invite, John.
Thanks a lot for being here. So, I would like to say what a beautiful collection you have in behind there.
Everything is there. It's my room, my man cave. It's like 4-wall stash with wrestling collectibles.
Top to
And
bottom.
I've been collecting for, since I was 5. So I would say I've been collecting for 38 years now.
That's something I was wanting to ask you. So a lot of people, they start collecting when they're children, but some people, like, over the years, their mom like throws it out when they're teenagers, or they gives it to like the younger cousins, or it gets sold at a garage sale. Did you always keep your original collection from when you were a kid?
Wrestling wise, yes.
Yeah.
But when I was a teenager, I decided to sell all my GI Joe Transformers and stuff like that. I would say back like between the age of 5 and 10, I was way more into the GI Joes, a little bit of Transformers. I started with E-Man. I had a lot of E-Man at the time, Masters of the Universe, and I would say around between 13 and 16, I decided to sell all my collection. And I remember at the time it was like only $150, which is nothing. I should have kept all
Compared
of this.
to today, what it would be worth, for sure.
Like a fortune. But I kept all my, I kept a few things that I had wrestling. I had my LGN ring. I had my LGN figurines, Hasbro stuff, magazines, VHS. But yeah, I was really big into VHS when I was a teenager.
Same here.
Yeah, was the only way to the action actually, except for on TV. But the big pay-per-views, they were hard to get.
No, for sure, for sure. And they were even hard to find a store to buy them at. Like, if you would find a store, maybe they would have 5, and then if you would buy a couple of them, they wouldn't even restock them necessarily.
Yeah.
That store would be like empty.
Yeah, where I used to live back then, there was not any like video club or something like that. Hey, we had to drive like at least 15 to 20 minutes to find one. And then, and first and foremost, it took a long time for us and my family to own a VCR. So maybe I was, between 12 and 13, something like that, the first time that I remember like getting a VCR, not renting a VCR, which seems odd, but at the time
it was a thing at one time.
Yeah.
People wouldn't believe that today, but really it was a thing.
Imagine you had a machine to watch movies.
You had to like leave a deposit, a credit card, the old credit card machines.
Yeah.
So right away then, so you started loving the VHS, trying to get like the secondhand copies at the video store, or where were you finding them for sale?
Flea markets. There was one in Quebec. There was I remember I used to buy them all for $4.50 a buck. So we used to buy them there. Sometimes you could find them at previously viewed and VHS store or a video club, I should say. And I remember there was a place called Serre Video, and I just asked, like, can I buy some of your tapes? And the guy could see I was really into wrestling. And he was like, I'm not making any money by selling you those tapes, but he saw that I was like really into it, and he sold me a couple of tapes. And then he had two stores. So I drive to the other store. I just told them, like, hey, the owner says it's okay if I buy some tapes. And I did buy some tapes, but mostly flea markets. And then around the age of 20, I think, not sure, eBay started out, and I bought some of the rare ones over there because there's a lot of tapes that were not even released in video stores.
Right.
There's a from Coliseum Video, there's a series called WS and a number, and those were never ever released. And you can even find ads for them. I don't know why that series came out, but there's about 20 to 30 tapes in that series.
Wow. I love those super obscure tapes like that. It's got to be like nearly impossible to find today.
Today there's some hard to find. Some of the last ones, like Mind Games, it's I
Yeah.
think the number WF507. It's worth like $300 easy, and that's the last one I need.
Dang. It's the Holy Grail.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit more about the group, about CWC. I was introduced to it by an invite from you. We've known each other for quite some time, and what I like about it is that there is other groups like it, but it's a community. It's a group where there's a bunch of people buying and selling wrestling merchandise. And what I like about it is I've even seen a couple times where someone will put something up for sale and they don't realize what they have. And they'll be like, oh, I want like $40 for it. And then someone will be like, no, like I'll buy that from you, but like I'll actually give you like $200 for it because it's actually worth like 300, say, like on eBay. So everyone helps each other out. And if people know that like, oh, my buddy in the group is collecting jacks, well, I'm gonna let him know if I get some jacks or if I see jacks, or yeah. So let me know a bit about how it all started.
Well, it started actually one night in 2018. I started to get fed up with the shipping costs from the US to Canada. So I'm like, and I saw there was another group. I got to give credit. There was another group called WFM Wrestling Figures Montreal by Josh.
Yeah, it's
And,
also a reputable group. The guy is a good guy, Josh. I've already met him too.
really good. It's located strictly in Montreal and the neighborhoods. But I said, well, let's start a group. So I started it, and the way I would say why the group has been successful is because I tried to implant the same way I'm looking at collecting as in the group. First and foremost, I'm a graphic designer, and the image is everything. So it helps that I'm good at this and I'm making the group looks good. And then, like you said, if there's someone trying to, like, first and foremost, we got rid of sharks. We got rid of people not wanting to put real pictures. And the rules were like really strict at the beginning, like no more than 2 posts a day, and you had to have a good picture. It has to be the real item you're selling. And like you said, if someone's trying to sell something, he has no knowledge of it, we're trying to help him. The same way I would do in real life in collecting. I remember maybe 5 years ago, I went to a Wrestling Universe. It's a store in near Long Island in New York, and the guy was selling a bunch of magazines, and I was like, I had most of them, but I was like, man, what you have is really worth. It's more than $2, I assure you. It's like, really? It was like, yeah, I know my stuff. You should keep that aside and wait, or sell it higher. I could tell you everything you want, and I did that in convention too. One time I was passing a table. There was a Captain Lou Albano pro like spotlight, I would say, and the guy was selling it only $10. I was like, it's worth 50 at
Oh,
least,
for sure. Yeah.
because I had it, and I paid 50 US actually. So
So yeah,
I
when you
told him.
tell the guy that, he's like, oh.
Actually, that time the guy was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." So I went around, meet some people, and I come back, and the magazine is still there at $10, and I'm like, "You haven't changed the price?" I was like, "No, I'll take it."
Why not?
So I give him a chance. I did some good trades with that magazine actually. Well, so basically, the success of the group is we have to say like help the community, and we're trying to help, like the main focus of the group is to help everybody grow their collection, because nowadays it's not easy. Like, I'm fortunate I started like years ago, but there's some stuff that I'm still missing that now it's like, unless I do a good trade, it's like you have to really pay for your stuff. Like those big LJNs over there. If someone wants to start a collection of LJNs or Hasbros or like the Hurley like figures in WWF, oh man, like
Expensive for sure, right?
it's gonna be expensive. It's almost discouraging.
Yeah.
And and I was lucky too sometimes. And honestly, when on the group, we're trying to be as honest as possible. Well, in the wild,
The
if I
wild
find some,
rules are out the window.
yeah, it's like I'm not gonna spit on something like really cheap, even though I know it's a little bit more valuable. At one time, there was a guy selling a giant blackstrap LGN that now it's probably worth $500, and he was selling it in a lot of four figures for $100, and I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
well, yeah, I'm interested, and I didn't try to downside the what he was asking. So he was like, oh, I'll sell to you because everybody's trying to get it lower. But I kind of realized that the guy was like needed the money for some drugs or something.
Oh,
I didn't feel bad, but
that's
I
it.
said, you want 100? I'll give you 100. And he even told me when I got there, it was like, it's more like just that figure is worth more than the actual 100. I was like, I know, but is this what you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Cash in the hand, sometimes
yeah,
money
yeah,
talks.
exactly.
No, yeah, sometimes like in the wild, you'll find people willing to sell stuff at a cheaper rate. And even if you tell them, like you're saying, you tell even if they know, if you have the money in hand, sometimes money is the most important thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
So
on the group, we're really strict. I remember some people were fed up at the beginning, like, oh man, your group is really complicated. Well, I was like, I really like there's something at the beginning. And now people are not used to that because we don't see it often. But at the beginning, it was like a picture is mandatory for a post. Even if you're looking, if you don't know what you want, if you're trying to trade, to sell, whatever. Because if you just put a text, it looks bad. My eyes are not focusing on
you
the
just like
on the.
scroll through it, it kind of
Yeah,
blends in with the previous post.
there was some exception. Like there was a guy I remember. He messaged me before, and he was like, "Man, I don't know what to put as a picture because I'm just looking for advice for shelves or something like that." I was like, "Oh, that's understandable. You can put it in just in plain text. There's nothing like." Or there was another guy looking like, "How do you declare your stuff at custom?" I was like, "Man, how can you? What are you gonna
No,
put a
yeah.
picture of the borders or something?" Like, there's some exception, but usually, and I remember at first we were finding guys like, "Hey man, your pictures they don't look good, man. It feels hot," and I surely do. I Googled like Macho Man Elite, and I found the same exact picture on Google. So I
Yeah.
was like, do you want to be part of the group or not?
No, that's it. But that's what's really good because not every group necessarily has that filter to make sure that uh, the members are protected. I
And
mean,
what really,
even on
and what really,
eBay, you're not really protected as much necessarily.
yeah, yeah. I got screwed on eBay, but back in the days, now it's really, I would say now it's harder for a seller to be sketchy. But back in the day, it was like head hotels. It was like
Yeah,
you didn't know. And back in the day, PayPal wasn't there, so we had to do money orders and stuff like that. And you wouldn't send the right amount, and it would bounce back or stuff like that, or you received your items, it wasn't what you expected, and it was a different world, I would say. But what really helped CWC, like it or not, the pandemic really helped. Last year, we were cruising, like I would say, 200 members, and then the pandemic hit, and then collecting, just skyrocketed. And now we're close to 1.4 hundred, like 1400.
yeah. Wow. Yeah, I noticed that because I'm also a member on the group. I check it every day, and I noticed that during the pandemic, that's really, I think people started to like, they had time, they were home, maybe they're looking through their stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They were either they wanted to start collecting, or they were trying to get rid of their collection. Some people actually, they were out of jobs and stuff like that, so they had to sell.
Yeah,
And
sad, but
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a
it's sad,
fact.
but I would never sell my collection.
So when you were a kid, obviously your collection you have now, that has grown. You didn't have all of this when you were a kid. And of course,
No, I would say, well, I had a big collection my whole life, but for a long, long time, I was real like once the VHS phase kind of went out the way because there was none VHS anymore. Anyways, I was really into magazines, and at one point, I had over, I would say, 300, 2,000 magazines. So magazines, they don't really show up on display. It's really hard to display. I had a
right.
couple of, had like do have like 40 magazines on my walls, but besides that, it's really hard to display. But I was really into magazine, and I did sold a lot last year. Now maybe down to 2,500 magazine. Not sure. I haven't counted in a long time, but and I'm done. Honestly, I'm done with magazine because I have everything that's ever, except for the WWF programs, which I never really liked to do because they were too expensive.
Yeah.
But everything else, honestly, I'm not trying to be like a big air or something. Everything else I do have. Everything from ECW,
Wow.
WCW, everything from 91, even before that, stuff that people don't haven't even seen before. And Wow Magazine, PWI, I got them all since 1979. All the
Wow.
specials, all the WWF, all the WWE, all the programs, pay-per-view programs up to 94. Uh, and at one point, my goal was to get all the number ones that existed. So the number one of Wrestling Exchange, the number one of The Wrestler, the number one of Inside Wrestling, stuff like that. And I must have over 150 number ones in my collection. I have two
Wow.
boxes just of number ones.
They're like there's like the first party magazines like WWE, then there's like PWI, which was like really high quality, and then there was like those ones which were like more articles and like maybe some big pictures, but the like the third, I can always consider those kind of like the third tier magazines. I
I
would
would
buy
say
them sometimes if I had a bit of extra money when I was a kid, you know?
I would call them the jobbers.
Yeah, exactly.
The Starlog company, the one they were company that used to do Fangoria, and I don't remember the name of their main magazine.
Like a science fiction magazine, was it?
Yeah, it was. Let me see. But it's the company Starlog, and they started to do wrestling magazines in the boom of 1985, and they they had like wrestling all-star heroes and villain ringside, TV wrestlers, and the well-known photograph, George Napolitano was like a big photograph for them, and maybe it was called Starlog. I'm not sure, but
I've definitely heard about it before. I know what you're speaking about because I know Fangoria too is a huge magazine.
they got into the wrestling business, and they did release a lot of magazines, but they were more focused on pictures, but they were not always good quality. So
Right. Yeah, I remember seeing some of them. It was mostly like big pictures, but like
yeah,
low quality, as you're saying.
they would say the most color, the most pages, or something like that on top of the on
On
top of
the
the yeah, more picture, more color than ever, and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah, it was called Starlog magazine, and
Yeah.
actually at the #1 too.
Wow. So now that like magazines is like pretty much all transferred to like magazines, but like that doesn't really, it's not the same, but they don't print magazines anymore as much. Or do they
Not as
even?
not as much, but it came back. There's well, PWI never ceased
Yeah,
to do
that's
it,
never stopped. True.
even though they reduced the size. I would say 3 or 4 years ago, they reduced the dimension, and they reduced the number of pages from like 90 to 60. And they went bi-monthly at the time. Now I think they're 9 times a year, and they're doing sometimes special only, like I would say, like you said, online magazines. And but there's also Inside the Ropes, Power Wrestling, which is from Germany, and there's a Fightful magazine just
Yeah, I've
started
heard of
now.
that. I think Jim Cornette writes an article in there.
Ooh, it's quite possible.
Yeah. So
And
it
there's
still
also
exists, but
it there's I think there's 5 of them. Uh, no, actually, Wrestle Talk in UK.
cool.
So
Is
there's
that
5.
affiliated with like the Wrestle Talk? I guess those British guys on YouTube.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Same for Inside the Ropes. It's the guys from YouTube, or I think they have a website.
Yeah. What would you think? Do you think if AEW put out a magazine, do you think people would buy into that?
Mm, it's hard to say. I would, even if it would be like once a year, like a yearly program, I
Yeah.
think it would be cool. But there's a thing that, like, it's near EEW magazine, but it's not actually the Starcast um, programs. I think they did 4 of them, and the last one, there's a lot of EEW stuff in there.
Oh, those must be pretty cool. I never take a look
Yeah,
at those.
I was lucky. I got some friends going over there, bringing me back the Starcast program, and they were like, they were the way they were done. The third one was like CM Punk, I would say a la LJN pause on the cover, and the second one was it was like a ripoff of a WCW from 1991 magazine.
Cool. Yeah. I have a couple of those back in the old days. Definitely, definitely magazine stores in general they're just harder to find though too. So even if wrestling magazines, there's less and less of them, but there's less and less stores to go find them too.
Yeah, that's true. Like magazine centric magazine store. I don't think it exists anymore, unless it's called a
A
tabagie or
tabagie,
something.
yeah, where they sell like pipes and all that.
Yeah, exactly. This is where I used to go. Like here in Canada, the only one that's available is Pro Wrestling Illustrated. And I was so tired of trying to find it, I cave in and I subscribed to it.
Yeah, that's the easiest way.
And I had a spot, but then the pandemic hit, and then I had to skip like 2 months or something, 2 months, like 4 months, 2 issues, and then it was impossible to find them back. And then I moved from Montreal to Repentigny, and then over there in Repentigny, it was like near impossible to get a place that could get it. So yeah, I caved in and I subscribed for another 2 years. But I got them all since 1979, and the space is getting narrow in my room.
Yeah, that's it. Only so much space.
Oh,
The physical media.
sometimes I'm looking at my wall, I was like, what can I sell? But I know I'll buy more.
Or trading. That's one thing that's great about collecting is if your collection gets big enough, then you stop spending as much money because you can start trading.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. The like just 2 weeks ago, my friend Anthony came over. He had a big box of Toy Biz, and the Toy Biz made figurines and accessories and for WCW in 98, 99, 2000. And I really got into them 2 years ago. And for him, it was just in a box. He had no space to display those. So I was like, "Come in." I just ordered a big lot from a guy from Vancouver. We could trade, and when we trade, it's like we never, me and him, my friend, we never looked at the value. It was like, "Do you want this?" "Yeah, I want that." "Okay, no problem."
Yeah,
It's like,
between friends, it's that's great. It's
yeah,
like
yeah,
back in the days. And that's another
exactly.
thing that's great, like you were saying. That's a good tip, like buying lots, because say you only want like half of it, then you can trade the other half for stuff you
Exactly.
want.
Like the big lot of Toy Biz that I just bought from Vancouver, I paid near, I would say near 450 for it. And I just needed some accessories, but I was like, I'll buy them all and I'll sell the rest and I'll be even. It's not gonna cost me anything.
There you go. Yeah, that's a perfect way of
Yeah.
doing it without blowing your budget.
Yeah. I actually never actually looked at my budget for that, but I would say I do some graphic designs and that cover most of the things that I buy and the trading, and I sell sometimes. And sometimes like on CWC we have a wrestling time machine. It's a live auction that we do once in a while. We don't do it too often, but it's just 2 or 3 hours of fun, and we're trying to help people have grow their collection actually.
Yeah, I've seen them before, and people are getting really good deals on there for stuff.
Well, because you never know, because you can't start an item, I would say, at the real price because people are going to be bidding unless it's a claim. But once we start low and people got into it, they start bidding and bidding and bidding. And last year it was crazy. Yeah, the first night that I did a magazine night, Anthony told me, he was like, "Hey, you should sell like an old magazine that you have that you don't really need or want in your collection." And I was like, "Yeah, maybe I'll try it. Maybe I'll make it the main event." So it was a magazine from 1952, and it was mint, like mint, 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 like as if I bought it the day before.
Wow.
So I'm like, I'll be happy if I get 100. So I started at 100, and it was crazy. I think it ended at 390, 395 or
Wow.
something. There was two people battling out, and I was like, this makes no fucking sense. I was like, it's crazy. And, but I wasn't forcing anyone.
No, no. And if the guy paid it for sure, he's probably happy to have it. It's probably on his wall somewhere.
And I'll be honest, if I would have sold this on eBay, probably the
You could have
most
got more.
No, actually, no. That's the thing. I would have got maybe 150. So my goal was to start it low at 100.
Yeah, and I said maybe it'll get up to 50, maybe it'll get up to 150.
But then it was
Bidding
pandemonium.
war.
It was crazy. It was my first magazine night, and my first main event was like outgrowing everything that I sold before. It was crazy. That night I made $1,000, and
Wow.
just with doubles and stuff that I don't like, that I bought in lots or that I don't want anymore. It was a good night.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something for all those people out there to get interested in the group. You guys advertise it. It's like once every couple months you do these auctions, and people really get into it. And I really recommend people come check them out. It's really a fun time. I've been at a couple. Definitely some cool merch that's been sold there.
Oh yeah. And sometimes we don't, even us, like, I'll do my research, but sometimes you never know what's gonna take like, you don't know the growth of the items. So I would say I sold an HBK shirt last year for probably 30 to $50. If you look it up on eBay right now, it's worth 200.
So you can, yeah,
Because
people get a great deal.
yeah, because the night that I sold it, probably only one guy wanted it. And I sold it on the live just because, we want to entertain people and give them good stuff. I'm taking a chance on this. But man, that guy is a member now of the group. He's a I wouldn't say a good friend, but he's a good connaissance, acquaintance. Is
Yeah,
it is it the right word?
yeah.
So and every time that guy is finding something, he's writing to me, and I'm like, dude, if you need help, I'll help you. I'll be honest with you, and he knows I'll be honest with him.
That's it. Well, that's what's really great about the group. I find like it's really a community of people, all like you're saying, all helping people's collection grow. And I've even seen like people post pictures of their collection growing, and you see some people. It started small, and even over a year, some people grow it real big.
It's really about helping each other, and and nowadays it doesn't happen too often. But once we see, like, there used to be a lot of flags. Hey, that guy is selling something that's sketchy or something. You should look into it. And like, sure enough, that was, like, I would say, a repainted LGN, and he was claiming it was like brand new and stuff like that. And
Yeah, and you guys have you have the knowledge enough to be able to spot stuff like that too.
Mhm.
Like if it would
even
just be posted on a random toy page, because like say a 80s toy group or something, there might not necessarily be that person to authenticate it.
yeah, exactly. But now it's we're getting a lot of posts daily. It's getting hard, but I have friends to help me to approve all of them. And even now, sometimes we're making mistakes. Like I would approve something, and like my friend would say, "Hey, did you notice the guy was only selling in USD?" I was like, "No, I didn't notice." I was like, now, like, can you put the price in Canadian just to make sure that everybody's on the same page?" And most of the time, everybody's cool with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So let's talk about the in-ring Novocaine. It's been
Okay.
quite a career. So the pandemic has definitely slowed everybody's activities down a bit. But why don't you tell me a bit about what you've been doing over? Where have you been wreaking havoc over the past couple months?
I just wrestled twice in 2021, and the only two bookings I accepted were, the reason I accepted it was because they were near my mother's place. So that's the only reason I accepted them, because I could visit my mom at the same time, and they were like, one was 5 minutes from my mom and the other was probably just 10. and they were both for FML, Fédération Montérégienne de Lutte. And that's the main reason I went there this year. I got asked a couple of places. I'm not gonna say a thousand, like a lot of places, but I got asked. But I'm my desire to wrestle has gone down a little bit, and I wouldn't say I'm a princess, but I wouldn't like just wrestle just to wrestle. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you did that for how many years every weekend, wrestling. You did that for like at least a decade every weekend in the ring, right? So
And nowadays I'll be like let's say we ask me to wrestle, like, are you free that weekend? I was like, against who? And if I don't know that person, I won't be tempted to go wrestle. I'll Google it, or it's like, who's that guy? And it doesn't matter if I'm going over or not. And but if I don't feel it, it's like, why would I? It's just like
it's got to be something that like get something creative going in your brain with your opponent,
yeah,
or a cool.
like, yeah, wrestling against my friends would be easy to accept, but wrestling against like someone I don't know if I can trust him. I've never seen that person before. I've never seen him work in the ring. And actually, that thing really happened the first time I came back in 2018. And I just came back because I was injured at work, and wrestling wasn't in my cards. And the day they asked, like, one guy asked me to come back, I was like, against who? And he was like, well, you can choose anyone you want, because we have just one spot on the mat on the show for one more match. And I was like, okay. So I called one of my friends, like, hey, you want to wrestle that day? At the same time that I accepted that, and I was advertised as the Novocaines comeback, I was getting asked to wrestle at other place after that. And I remember there was asking me to wrestle Dave La Justice. And with Dave Le Justicier. I don't know
Dave
which
La
one is the
Justice.
fault.
Yeah, Dave La Justice. Yep.
So they were asking me to wrestle that guy. And I was like, oh, I don't know, man. I think I'm working that weekend, but that wasn't true. The truth is, I didn't know that guy, and I wasn't interested at all of wrestling him. But then I made my first match, and before or maybe after my first match, that guy was there on the show, not wrestling, just there to do a promo or something. He came to talk to me. He was like, hey, I heard you might wrestle in Sorel and stuff like that. But just the feeling that that guy was projecting on me, I was like, I need to wrestle that guy. And right away, the first thing that I did once I got out of the venue over there, sat in my car, called the promoter and stuff. It was like, man, I'm free actually. Work just called, and I'm not gonna have to work that weekend, well, which wasn't true. But I told him, like, man, I want to wrestle that guy, and it was a blast. It was a blast. Dave La Justice is a total pro.
I've called some of his matches in the past doing commentary, and I seen him wrestle quite a few times. That must have been quite a power match. Must have.
Oh yeah, it was. It was. I remember I did gorilla press him. I think he's about 250 or something.
Oh yeah, he's got to be.
With the adrenaline, everything's possible. And that's the fun part of wrestling for me, the adrenaline rush that we get. Like, I don't know if everybody's equally like physically done like me, but just before the match, if you ask me to do 40 push-ups, it's gonna be easy like that. If you ask me the day before, the day after, I'll do 10 and I'll be like, I'm done. But with the adrenaline rush, like, I don't know how it works in the body, but man, I have never been ever blown off or out of not out, I don't want to say out of shape, but like everything that I did, like power wise in the ring, I never had any problems. And just because of the adrenaline rush. And then that,
once it's time for the show.
it's, for me, once, I would say maybe an hour before the match, after like rehearsing the match with the other guy, I start feeling the adrenaline in me. It's hard to explain, but you'll start to do this a little bit, shaking a little bit without knowing it, and it's like the adrenaline rush going through my veins, and it really does help to the match. I
For
don't know
sure.
if everyone does that, but I've noticed it like after a couple of years of wrestling. I was like, I remember we practiced it, the gorilla press with Dave. We did practice it, and I was like, I was able to lift him up maybe here in the practice, and I was like, don't worry, in the match it's gonna go, and it went all the way.
So that's years of being in the ring, knowing yourself, knowing being confident, and knowing how you're gonna perform.
Yeah, and but my success, I was just a regional wrestler in my head, but my success was do what you know, execute it like you know it, and don't try anything stupid or anything you haven't done or stuff like that. Uh, Stick to what you know, and you're going there to entertain people, and you're going there to show your craft. And if you're starting to do stuff that you don't know or you never took, or don't be shy, like my last match with Zach Patterson at FML. He asked me, hey, can you go, I like you to do a German on you. I was like, fine, but I never took a German before. No one has ever took me into a German that I remember. Maybe when I was starting, maybe, but I was like, yeah. But at the same time, I was like kind of not nervous, but I like
Going
nowadays the
into the
only thing,
unknown kind of thing.
yeah. But now that like I know how to take a German, but I never took one. So like it's like any other bump, you position yourself like a bump, regular bump, but you're always aware that could be injuries, and when you get older, injuries are kind of nagging. So that was my only concern. Like, what if I push too much and I land on my neck? What if he can't lift me and it looks bad? But I just let it go. I told him like I never took it, but I'll do it. Just tell me what to do. Is like, just push. Okay, no problem.
He's getting a lot of praise throughout the Quebec industry. Would you say he's deserving of that praise? I think he looks great.
Yeah, but actually, the like when I said I was a princess, the first time they talked to me about doing a match with him was a tag team match, and I was like, tag team match. Nothing against tag team, but if my partner is not like my real partner, it's a one-time thing. I'm not really a fan of that. But at the same time, I was writing. I was like, man, if you want me to put over Zach Patterson, I'll do it. Singles, well, I'll prefer that. That's for sure. And this is how the match was made. And I was looking for it because I have known that kid since he was that high.
Literally a kid.
Literally a kid since like I probably saw him when he was like 1 year old. So I would see him time to time at NCW when he come visit with his father or mother. And I saw him 2 3 years ago. He was starting to train, eating a lot of tuna or stuff like that. I used to go to Bert's place, and he was there, and he saw we were buying stuff from Bert at the time, and then the pandemic hit. I think he got really ready for once the wrestling would open, and then he took the I think he took the scene of wrestling by storm, and I do believe he deserves all the accolades that he has right now. Even though um, I think there's a learning process to go through in the like if you go too high, too fast,
You
it,
might miss some steps along the way.
it could get to his head, like maybe it won't. But the night that I fought him, the Federation, they decided to put me over, and I was like, I don't care. It was like, I'm just there
You're
to have
right. You're
fun.
good. Yeah.
I'm 5 minutes from my mother's place, and I'm wrestling a guy that I really wanted to wrestle. As long as we get eat, as long as we got good chemistry and stuff like that. And honestly, that match was near perfect. If we could do the match again, I probably would do the same thing. So there wasn't anything wrong with that match. And for a kid, I think it was his 11th match. I was told by Bert. So only 10 match before mine. Man, that guy, he looked like at least a guy
Legit. He.
years under his belt. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's great to hear. It's always great to see the.
And he's taking care of himself. Like he's probably the one of the top 10 guys in shape in Quebec.
Indy,
So
yeah, right. Walking in the door, the guy's already in the top 10 shape.
that's the kind of guy. If I was booking, I would put on a poster. That's for sure.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, he looks like a wrestler. He has a good young look. He'll attract the young girls. Perfect.
Exactly.
No, definitely the future looks bright. And
Oh yeah.
and it's what a great story. As you were saying, like the kid, his father, like he was in NCW as he was growing up. So a lot of guys have seen him grow up like that. He's gonna he maybe he doesn't have the experience in the ring, but he definitely has been around wrestling. That definitely is gonna help him in
Oh
the
yeah.
future.
If he has the same brain as Bert, man, he has a head start on everyone.
No, definitely. I can't wait to see the future.
Oh yeah. I think
So,
it's been doing great.
no, definitely. So, CWC, all the fans can join it. We just look it up on Facebook, right?
Yeah, Canadian Wrestling Collectors. I think in one word you can Facebook it, and it's you just have to register, and you must be Canadian. You just tell us your postal code, and you agree to the rules, and that's it. If your Facebook account is not sketchy without a picture, or if you're not from Zimbabwe or something like that, you have good chance of getting accepted.
Yeah. If people have anything they want to sell from their collection, I recommend going right there to CWC. If you're looking to add something to your collection, same thing. I recommend going right here, CWC. And this interview is actually brought to you by the indyquebec.com Facebook page, which I'll be running a contest for the month of January. Anyone who likes the indy.com Facebook page will be entered to win a X-Pac Mattel Elite. It's the Fan Takeover Edition X-Pac NWO. So anyone who's listening to this, please go like the indy.com Facebook page as well, and you'll have a chance to add another figure to your collection. How do you like, before we go, one last question. How do you like the new Mattel figures? And how do you like the AEW?
I do think the ADW figures look good, but I'm a vintage guy, so everything past, except for Toy Biz, everything past 95, I would say I have
You're out.
nothing.
You're out.
Yeah, like look, the only thing I did buy was this figure, Cody Rhodes LGN style. That's the only one I'm gonna buy. The second one's supposed to be Darby Allin. I'm gonna buy it, but I'm not gonna start all the AEW, especially Jacks are producing it. So Jacks are well known to produce way too much.
Subpar.
So and where I'm gonna put it.
Right, there you
So
go.
well, I got a couple of it. I got one maybe one or two elites of Hogan, one basic, but one Funko Pop. I got the E-Man Hogan and the Royal Subjects, I think it's called. But the only reason I got this is because I got it live at the store. Besides that, it's not something I would be looking for.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got the Hogan
The
E-Man,
He-Man figures. Yeah, I got a couple of those too.
but that one came with the ring, so it was hard to get. But besides that, I'm more of a vintage guy. Just like I would prefer buying this. Like my two, this is way better, and I'll never get lost with my flashlight of Hogan. Yeah, I have lunch boxes, watches, clock, mask, like oh, even those things. Like doesn't look much, but like binoculars of the
Whoa.
WWF, it's crazy. I have the Viewmaster. I have I have pins from Europe. I have bracelets. I just got this. This is cool. It's a flip book that came with the cereal box. So you flip it like that and you see action.
Oh wow, that is cool.
Yeah.
Hey.
So that was very hard to get. And yeah, I got some I probably got, I think the last time I got I was over 100 figures just of Hogan. Just of
Hogan.
Yeah.
Even
so say, now
would that, so like your Hogan collection is almost like a collection on its own, would you say?
Yeah, I got 2 rows, 2 shelves, like I would say 8 feet long, only Hogan. I got some Hogan on the other side, just NW Hogan. And I'm a big fan of No Holds Barred, just the artwork. So I got a lot of VHS of No Holds Barred. Same thing for PWI. They released 2 tapes, and I must have 10 tapes of like variants and stuff. And yeah, there's way too much stuff here.
So if you had one grail, one piece you're still looking for,
looking for?
Yeah,
I would say the Hasbro Hogan mail away. There was actually 3 figures for sale in a magazine, and one was Taker, the other was Brett. I don't think Taker there was much difference. I think Taker, Brett, the Purple Heart was different, but Hogan was all red. It was cool. And what is sad about this is I did order it at the time for my birthday or either Christmas, and it was sold out. But
oh my God.
But I'll show you something.
You need to get that figure. We need to get you that figure now.
Yeah, I wish, but
it's like such a sad story.
Yeah, but now it's probably worth like 800 to 1,000, and you know I've never pulled that kind of money for something.
No.
I was
maybe
lucky.
You'll find it in a trade or something.
I would do that. But you know, the number one thing about collecting is being patient.
Yeah.
If you're not patient, if you're urging, you're gonna spend way too much. And if you're trying to resell, which I'm not doing actually, but if you're trying to resell, you're gonna lose out. So you need to be patient. You need to hit the right deal. But to make up for the figure that I don't have, I did order a big version of that figure. Whoa. So I got this from a guy from the UK. It's all articulated. It's I think it's made of a acrylic or something.
It's like a 3D print, maybe.
It's like a, you know, to produce the little figures they used to you used to produce like bigger one. So yeah, that's the size.
That's what that is.
Yeah, but it's not the actually.
That's the size of one.
But that's the size of one. The guy that I ordered it from, he has the ability to make any one you want. So I got this made. I got the belt. and I got some custom weapons too from that Hasbro. But that's the and that's heavy, man. If a burglar comes here, that's the first thing I get. Oh man, that will knock somebody out. But that's the closest that I got from it. And actually, I like it. I like it a lot because it's bigger. And but
He looks cool.
that's the only piece I'm missing right now, and that I would really want. I'm missing a one Hasbro too, but that's just a variant, so I'm not gonna spend 250 just to add a figure in my collection. It really needs to need a lot more than that. But
Yeah.
honestly, I'm like collecting is a passion, but you need to find always to like rejuvenate, that you're collecting. So once something is done, you're gonna find something else. And right now, what's stopping me is the space. Just yesterday, I just put those two shelves over there because I was it used to be just a wall and one shelf on top. And then yesterday, I put those two, put the lighting in, and because I was out of space, and I don't want to be the collector that
Where
just puts in and stuff like that. And
stuff starts
like,
losing value, it starts getting busted, and it's always
yeah.
better to keep it all.
And what's the fun in just putting them in box? That's
No,
why
exactly.
I was a big fan of magazine and still am, but display wise, it's not fun. Like I got, yeah, I still got 2,000 magazines in my ward in my garderobe over there. So, but I do like them, but it's not as fun as looking at like pin buttons or cards or lunch boxes or glasses or cups or greeting cards or like even those things, man. Those things like that on sealed packed of diamond
Wow.
stickers. This is gold for me.
Yeah, man. Like the more like obscure items.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's
What some,
awesome.
what's fun is finding stuff that you used to look into the catalogs and stuff like that. This is what really
Oh, I
fun.
wish I could order that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a collector, but casual. I go in spurts. But definitely when something catches my eye, normally that's why. It's because it's something I wanted when I was younger that I didn't have.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's the same for a lot of collecting in general.
Yeah, and one of the collection that I like in my collection, one of sub part was like the music, because when I was a kid, music was really hard to just to know, just to know who's singing real American was like hard to say, or hard to find, I would say. And I remember we used to look. You remember those big yellow books at like music store when you would look all the songs in the universe,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then one day we find out, well, Rick Derringer, real American. That must be it. And then we would find the single, and then we would learn that rest because I started collecting magazine in '89, so I had no knowledge of what was before. And then we found out the wrestling album existed, Pile Driver existed, and now buying back all the singles, the 45 RPM and 33 RPM stuff, and my collection is has grown as music wise, and I got some rare stuff in the music. I would say in the music department of that collection.
Yeah, that's got to be another. It's just a medium that it's been made less and less of too, right? And
Yeah,
today everyone can download off YouTube, so it's just less. There must be way less of it around in general.
yeah. I think the last issue they released, the last CD I would say they released was back when Orton was like in the 4 or 5 year, like the New Day stuff. If you don't, I don't remember what year it was, but that was the last CD they released, and now it's all digital. So it's like it doesn't feel like collecting,
Yeah. Well, like even CDs. people used to just collect like in general music, but now like HMVs, there's no like HMVs anymore, stores like that.
Yeah,
Only like
doesn't it?
Walmart.
I think there's some. It's not called HMV, but there's something like in all the I don't remember the name, but there's some places, but they have to go to other ways. So there's places there's vinyl and CDs and stuff like that, but they have to go into collectibles,
Right.
T-shirts and cups and figures and board games and stuff like that. They can't keep up with only vinyls
Only
and
music like in the old days.
and only movies, I would say.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Like HMV used to be
So
really cool back in the day.
in every what's it called? Sandasho, I don't know how to say that.
Every mall. Yeah.
I think in every mall there's at least one place that like they dedicated to music and movies, but they can't sustain only on that.
No, not anymore. No, exactly. That was more back in the old days. And
Yeah,
like you were saying about the music, like it really was hard to find back in the day because back in the old days, people, if you wanted to record a song, you would have to either record it off a tape, which you already had, or off the radio. But wrestling songs didn't play on the radio. So,
like
like, the
it
only
was
way
hard.
it was really hard to have any kind of audio of the wrestling music for sure.
Yeah, I remember probably in 96, 97. That's the first time that I got myself into a room with my cousin and we listened to an album called a wrestling album, and we would listen to it all, like even like disgusting songs like Captain Lou Albano and Nikolai Volkov. But that was our first taste of wrestling music. And then a couple of years later, they released it in CD. But that was like really the first thing that I remember. Oh, maybe WrestleMania, the album before, but it was yeah, like you said, on the radio was never playing, uh, and it was really hard to just like to do research on this. The internet wasn't there, and the only place you could know about that was the magazine. But if you missed it, that issue, you didn't know about it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the magazine was like it wasn't only a collectible, it was like a legit source of news as well,
That
you know?
magazine was like the internet at the time. That's
Yeah.
the way you could learn about what's happening on every territory and stuff like that. And that's the way I'm learning about wrestling. Sometimes I would flip up in an old magazine from 84, 85. I was like, and I would discover stuff like that. And
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Kevin Sullivan in Florida or whatnot.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah, me.
ECW. The way I discovered ECW in 93, 94 was via the magazines. My cousin was a big fan of Tommy Dreamer, but I'd never seen him wrestle. Never ever seen him wrestle. So he was a fan of Tommy Dreamer just by the pictures and stuff like that. And
How cool he looked.
yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
remember in the magazines. Yeah, I had heard about like ECW in the 90s, but I think the first time I ever saw it live on TV was like 1999.
Jesus, near the end.
Yeah, and my friend
Yeah,
got TNN at the
I
time.
saw my first taste, I would say, on tape of ECW. I had some friends living near the borders of Canada, and they were able to get a feed of probably TNN at the time, and they were able to record that, and they lent it to me, that trade tape, tape trading,
Tape trading.
So that was my first time, seeing the. You remember the old ECW intro, like something
Yeah,
like that? That was my first taste, but it was maybe a year or two after I got into what I saw in the magazines.
that must have been
So
cool because
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
in those days, tape trading like you had to know someone or it was
I
really
we used to
hard.
we used to tape trade our backyard wrestling. Imagine.
That's
It was called
awesome.
EGW, Extreme Grass Wrestling.
Extreme Grass Wrestling. That might be the best backyard name I've heard.
This is where we started, me and Blaze. Remember Blaze?
Yep. Yeah,
Where
yeah.
This is where we started just to have fun, but he was way better than me at the time. And like the grass, I would say it doesn't give like a ring. I wouldn't do it again.
So, on that note, my friend, the fans will be able to get onto CWC, and they'll see you on there as Yano Cain, and they'll be able to see you in the ring one of these days when an opponent pisses you off enough for you to get in there and kick their ass. People will be able to watch out for Novocaine in the ring. It's been a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for your time.
It was a pleasure of mine too, John.
All right. We'll talk to you soon here, and you'll always be welcome back here on indyquebec.com.
My pleasure. Take care.
Thanks.